Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
This is KRWG Public Media, TV, radio, online, news that matters. Now, across the Mesilla Valley and the borderland, the stories that shape our community. From the KRWG Broadcast Center at New Mexico State University, this is Newsmakers.
Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Anthony Moreno. This month, people across the U.S. and world will honor the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Joining us now to discuss upcoming events celebrating Dr. King's life and legacy in Las Cruces is Dr. Bobbie Green, president of the NAACP-Doña Ana County chapter. Dr. Green, thank you for joining us.
Happy New Year, Anthony, and thank you so much for having me today.
Happy New Year to you as well. It's wonderful to have you join us to discuss the 2025 events that are happening to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King. Can you share with us what's in store?
Well, I'm very excited about what's coming this year. We have, as we do every year, we have the rally at the Downtown Plaza on Sunday, January 19th at 2 p.m., the day before MLK Day. And I've got a wonderful lineup of speakers this year. I have invited the City Council, the Las Cruces City Council, and many of them have already confirmed that they will be there, and also the Doña Ana County Board of Commissioners. Some of them have confirmed as well. We will talk about some of the issues relevant to the city of Las Cruces. We know that homelessness is an issue, and there's a lot of political discourse that we would like to collaborate with our partners. We've got the Las Cruces Fire Chief coming. We've got the Las Cruces Police Department. Their public information officers are coming. And so our goal is to make 2025 a better year for everybody. We don't want anyone to feel left out. We want to make sure that there is a place at the table here in our city, in our community, for all of our citizens. So I'm working with all of our partners within MSU, Black Programs, also Cecil Rose is got a great part in this as well. So we're looking forward to starting MLK 2025 weekend with a bang. We're going to march from the plaza to the streets of, down the streets of Las Cruces to the steps of City Hall, where our mayor, Eric Enriquez, will speak to us, and our city manager will also speak to us. So all of the heavy hitters are engaged, and I think we're all on the same page in terms of wanting to make sure we can solve some of these issues that we have.
Well, I definitely want to dive into those issues with you and learn more about the rally and march and the breakfast, of course, and all of the events that are happening at the weekend. But I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the theme for this year. The theme is titled Mission Impossible. Can you share with us a little bit more about why that theme was chosen and what it means, what it symbolizes?
The theme is very interesting, and it speaks to the challenges we face as we enter this new year with a new regime. We have new leadership at the federal level, the state level, all levels basically, as a result of the election that just happened in November. And I looked at the results of the outcome of the election, and this country is split almost down the middle. So we are actually very much divided, as much divided, I think, as we have ever been. And I think their policies, Project 2025, and some of the issues that are floating around are very different than the policies that I would prefer to see people like me, people of color. And so the Mission Impossible basically says that, this is going to be a tough road. And if you've ever watched one of those movies with Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, he always starts out with an almost impossible task, but yet he always finds a way, with ingenuity, with collaboration with his team and what have you. He always finds a way to solve the problem, the mission. And so we are committed to trying to solve the mission and make sure that we can work together. We've got wealth inequality, we've got health inequality, we've got all kinds of issues. We've got police reform that needs to be addressed. We have education, immigration. There's so many issues.
There are a lot of issues.
A lot of issues.
You mentioned, being able to bring people together on a team, just like the movie
Right.
Mission Impossible. So what do you think this weekend can bring to help form a team to help solve some of these challenges we're facing, not only in our city, but in our country?
Well, it's important that we understand that there is more that we have in common than what separates us as a human race, and that we are all we all want certain things. We all want health, we all want family, we all want safety. Those things are common, and we can look at those common denominators and try to make sure that everybody, even though we have different approaches and we may agree to disagree, we can still understand that, yeah, we're all human and we're all here to try to make the world a better place. I read the speech that Dr. King did in March of 1961. I read it again, and it's as if he were talking to us today, even though the speech was, 60 years ago. And so he basically, some of the more common phrases we know, we can rise together as brothers or perish as fools. The arc of the moral universe it's long, but it bends toward justice. I've decided to choose love because hate is too great a burden to bear. All of those things are so relevant today. And that's why we're celebrating the man that he was, a brilliant, forward-thinking orator, one of the best orators of our time. And so looking at his philosophy, his wisdom, his principles of nonviolence, and his perspective that choose love instead of hate, those things that's a winning strategy right there. And so, like he said, he may not get there with us, but we as a people will get to the promised land. I believe, like he did, that we as a people will be successful, and regardless of who is in the White House or at the top, there's some things that we can do as a group of people with like minds and a willing, the tenacity and the ingenuity of the human spirit. Just like in the movie Mission Impossible, we will be successful.
I want to talk a little bit more about the events to give our audience an understanding of what's in store for them. That's also an annual event, of course, the MLK breakfast that is held annually in Las Cruces, bringing people together. There are inspiring speeches as well. Can you share a little bit about that breakfast?
The breakfast is one of our signature events for the NAACP. We're partnering with Cecil Rose and NMSU Black Programs, and we have a more active role with NMSU in general because, the keynote speaker is the vice president of the NMSU Foundation, and he is vice president of philanthropy and alumni relations. So he's a perfect speaker to come to an event such as this because Dr. King was a philanthropist. This young man, his name is Patrick Stewart. He is a philanthropist. He is a heavy hitter. He comes from the University of California in San Diego, and he's worked internationally. He's raised millions of dollars. So he's the real deal. He's a multi-million-dollar man. And NMSU is very fortunate to have him. I've gotten to know him, and he's really a wonderful young man. So I'm excited to hear what he can share with the community. This will be our opportunity to introduce him to the community as well. And so we're looking forward to a wonderful event. We've invited the brand new president, the freshly minted president, Valerio Ferme, and so we're hoping that he will be able to attend. We've invited the deans from all of the colleges. Some of them have expressed that they will be out of town, but some of them have indicated that they will be there as well. The student athletes, We've invited the head of the name, image, and likeness, NIL. That group will come. So it is going to be a wonderful event with a lot of key players in the mix. We are getting sponsorships from the New Mexico Office of African American Affairs, a sponsorship from the Martin Luther King Jr. State Commission, of course, and a sponsorship from El Paso Electric. So everybody is stepping up. There is excitement. The League of Women Voters, the Federated Women of Doña Ana County, Democratic Women of Doña Ana County, the American Association of University Women, the Democratic Party, and so all of these groups who understand that this is a time that we've got to dig in our heels and try to work together for the common good. So that's what we're doing. The tickets are on sale now. They are $50, or a table of 8 is $400. So you can go to our website and you can purchase a ticket online right now if you get them quickly, because they're moving fast. But the website, the NAACP-DAC website, is where you can go to purchase tickets. And some of our students, our president of the NMSU chapter of the NAACP, her name is Desiree, and she will be speaking at that event. We have a scholarship recipient that will be receiving an award, the Barbara Hubbard Award. A music major will receive that award. So we're looking forward to just having a wonderful event. We've got Billy Towns and his group coming from El Paso, wonderful jazz musicians. So it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for everybody to enjoy.
It sounds very exciting, and I know a lot of folks are looking forward to that. I want to get back to some other issues that, of course, you brought up already in the program. One of those was police reform in Las Cruces. You had mentioned that there's obviously been a lot of concern surrounding the settlements that the city is having been paying out, the actions of law enforcement officers, former law enforcement officers. Can you share with me exactly where you stand on citizen oversight in the city of Las Cruces?
We have been working, the NAACP and several other community leaders have been working to try to come up with a Citizens Oversight Committee. The term, the police department doesn't really like that term because they don't want it to seem like we are dictating their policies and what have you, and we don't want to dictate. We want to partner with them. We don't want to work against them, but we also think it is important that they follow their own policies, their de-escalation policies, their duty to inform and duty to intervene policies. Those policies are, if they follow those, that will reduce a lot of the overhead that we have. There are some major high-profile suits that are pending right now that probably will cost the taxpayers. And so we want to be part of the solution. We don't want to be part of the problem, but we cannot ignore the fact that there is a problem.
Of course, we're talking about officer-involved shootings that have led to the deaths of people in Las Cruces.
Yes.
I'm running out of time with you. I have just a minute left, but when we think of civil rights in 2025, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Police reform. And I think it's because I'm close to it and I hear all of the complaints. I'm also on the Law Enforcement Certification Board, so I see some of the complaints, all of the complaints that come through from all over the state, not just Las Cruces, but all over the state. And I know that we can do better. I want to be part of doing better because I think it's just with a few adjustments, we can make some differences. We do have some bad apples. And one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. But if you get rid of the bad apple, the rest of the crop can flourish. There are some wonderful police officers. We all know that. And there are some bad ones. So we want to just make sure we can separate the bad from the good.
Dr. Bobbie Green is president of the NAACP-Doña Ana County chapter. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Time now for our segment, Living Here. Last year, a new children's museum opened its doors in El Paso. Our producer, David Vasquez III, helps us discover more about La Nube Children's Museum.
So here in El Paso, La Nube is more than a children's museum. We're a STEAM Discovery Center. So we're not only serving those that are 0 to 8, 0 to 12, we serve 0 to 99 and above that. It's really meant for everybody, whether you're young or old, and it's really important to learn STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics as a whole, and incorporate that. So it's needed in our community, just again, not only here in El Paso, but in our region. So as you come in and you see all of our structures and all of our floors, it just opens up to the imagination. There's room for exploring everywhere between our zones, whether you're going through our Anything Possible climber, which is right behind us, and reaching for the stars, or if you're going right behind you, which is actually our aerospace, where you can fly airplanes and make your own paper airplanes, which we don't often do anymore. Being able to see all of their community members come in, again, families, so you'll see an abuelo coming in with their little toddler, grandchild, and seeing them come in and play and experience education in a fun manner is just an awesome, overwhelming, and fulfilling experience. In our efforts to make sure that we're equitable and inclusive, all of our exhibits are non-hierarchical, bilingual, and what that means is you'll have English and Spanish, all the same font size, all the same text in there, whether it's up, right, down, left, it's all mixed about, and it's because it's non-hierarchical at that point, and we want to make sure that everyone feels included and there's no judgment here. And so it gives us an opportunity as an English language learner to start learning our Spanish science terms and vice versa. The original creation was a children's museum, and we tend to think of that as being something, again, for those little, so 0 to 8-year-olds. But it's important to make sure that everybody has a chance to participate and learn and engage with STEAM. So there's something here for those 0-year-olds where they're playing on tummy time or just finally learning to walk. There's things for our middle schoolers where they're flying those paper airplanes. And if you're in high school and you're getting interested in coding, there's a whole zone just meant for that. And as a parent and as an adult, you'll really just start to learn and see everything, and you'll just want to play just as well. The building of La Nube has been in the works for a while, and so we are just so excited to have the opening and bring in the community and finally open its doors, and so now everybody gets to experience that. So our current hours, so we are closed on Mondays. However, Tuesdays and Wednesdays we open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. On Thursdays we open at 10 a.m. and that's our late night, so we're open to the public till 7 p.m. So those are a really nice night to come and visit us. Fridays we are open from 10 to 5 p.m. On Saturday, we'll open at 9 a.m. and we'll close at 5 p.m. And on Sunday, we have a very special members hour available from 10 to 12. And at 12, we open to the public and we will close at 5 p.m. Visit us at www.la-nube.org for all of our future events and calendar invites. And you can also sign up for our newsletter, which is highly recommended because you'll be the first ones to get that information of coming out on what events we have.
Moving on, have you ever considered just how much wildlife calls the wide open spaces of southern New Mexico home? Author Sharman Apt Russell's new book looks at the common mammals we may share our spaces with. Sharman Russell joins us now to share more about this book titled What Walks This Way, Discovering the Wildlife Around Us Through Their Tracks and Signs. Sharman, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Let's learn a little bit more about your inspiration to write this book.
Well, I started learning how to identify, track, and sign, say, a dozen years ago. But I've lived over 40 years here in rural New Mexico. So obviously there are animals winding around my house, into my backyard, into my garden, on the trail ahead of me for a long time. When I wrote a book about citizen science, I really began developing that skill even more. And I started acting as a citizen scientist, monitoring wildlife where I live. So that was the beginning. It enlarges my life. It makes me feel more engaged. I've really fallen in love.
As I started to read your book, one of the things that caught my attention was that you have to really slow down a little bit to pay attention to these things. I see that in your writing a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how that makes an impact in being able to track and understand the world around us?
Yes, you have to slow down. You have to slow down. You have to stop. You have to bend down. You have to examine what's in front of you. I'm a runner, so I'm used to moving quickly through the landscape. I'm a hiker. I'm used to moving quickly through the landscape. The wonderful thing about tracking is that it does make you slow down. And another great thing is that you can start wildlife tracking at any age and in almost any physical condition. The pace is slow, it's deliberate, it's thoughtful, it's engaged in a way that we don't often do when we're out in nature.
I mean, obviously the focus is nature and understanding a little bit more about the world around us, but you also share a lot about the world you live in and the people and animals that you share your space with. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, right now I'm sitting in my, office. I'm looking out the window to the bird feeders. The squirrels have just knocked over the feed, and the birds are, especially the quail, are delighted. I live about 1.5 miles from the Gila National Forest line, a few miles from the Gila Wilderness. I've chosen this place. I came here deliberately 40 years ago with my husband to be right here. I love rural southern New Mexico. I'm from Arizona. So yes, all those animals winding around in my life, they're actually the same ones that are in Las Cruces and throughout the Chihuahuan Desert. And yes, it's, my country road are all kinds of people who are also very engaged in living in place, being here right by the Gila River, protecting it, loving it, enjoying its wildlife.
What do you hope folks learn about tracking with this book?
I really want people at the end of this book to look down at the print on the ground and say with some confidence, even smug if you want to, raccoon or skunk or coyote or nope, domestic dog, bobcat. I want them to have a sense of competence and engagement and satisfaction just knowing the common mammals around where they live. And to have that sense of abundance. We don't see wildlife because they're secretive. They don't want to be seen. They shouldn't be seen. So we don't really know, how big that world out is there. There's so much wildlife winding around, flourishing, but we can see it in their track and sign. We can suddenly engage in that community.
You certainly write about that on how the wildlife don't want to be seen and they want to be left alone. And in your writing, you say there's reasons for this. What are those reasons?
Well, we know that, we are predators. We kill wildlife. We know that habitat destruction, a variety of things have caused a real loss of populations. And I wanted to address that in the book too. I wanted to look at the question of the health of our mammal populations in North America. Do we have enough caribou? Do we have enough bobcats? How are the gray fox doing? How are the quaddies doing? So that was part of my research. There's a word called defaunation, which means loss of abundance. So one example of that is right now, 96% of the weight of mammals on the planet are humans and our domestic livestock. 4% of the weight of mammals on Earth are wildlife. So it's just this ribbon of life winding through our lives. Here in North America, we are very lucky to have a lot of public land and a lot of wildlife. And I did want to celebrate that. This is not a book about loss. This is a book about celebration, about what we have.
And in that book, you also write about how wildlife is managed, and you share some interesting demographics about those who are managing the wildlife in the United States. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a very traditional form of wildlife management that came down from the forest laws of Great Britain, and we see wildlife as a resource to be used and to be protected. We see a lot of animals as kind of pests that we don't want, and we see a lot of animals as simply unimportant. We don't manage them at all. There's a wonderful organization in Las Cruces called Wildlife for All, and it used to be the Southwestern Environmental Center. And its vision is much my own, and it's, let's start looking at wildlife with a more modern ecological perspective, which is actually an older indigenous perspective too. And that is that we should be managing, and I'd like to put that in quotes, but living with all the wildlife out there, because it's all part of an ecosystem. So we should be managing, and again in quotes, birds and reptiles and native bees and vertebrates. So we need to broaden our understanding of wildlife management to protect and help to flourish, help our community to flourish with all that wildlife. So that's a shift in seeing wildlife as our community rather than a commodity or a resource only.
The book is What Walks This Way, Discovering the Wildlife Around Us Through Their Tracks and Signs. Sharman Apt Russell, thank you so much for joining us on Newsmakers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. I enjoyed it.
That's all for our program. Remember, you can stay updated with news anytime at krwg.org. I'm Anthony Moreno. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.